What is your take on that?
My take on that is, first and foremost, I have realized, as I said with the race issue, that a lot of the times it's not Black Americans behind it. It's not LGB behind this trans agenda. I've spoken to tons of people that are on the left, lesbian, gays, and they are uncomfortable.
Okay.
With what they don't even understand why they're being forced to pretend to defend this. I mean, LGB really has nothing to do with T.
Right.
And they've been able to amass a lot of power, push through policies. California just proposed a bill that
Are you serious?
boys and girls sections, that would make boys and girls sections in retail stores and online stores illegal, and that people that have signs that say boys section, girls section will get fined $1,000, right? You can't tell me that gays and lesbians got together and were like, this is just unbelievable.
Fact.
So there's something political that's pushing this, and they're hiding behind the LGB people to try to push that through, which is interesting, and it's super alarming. But
okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
But in regards to children identifying, which is definitely happening, they're being encouraged in the school system. So again, there's something coming down the political pipeline that's encouraging them to see. And then you have these woke parents who are like, well, this is just who my child is. Wow! And what I always say is that if you show me a trans child, it's like showing me a vegan dog. You know who's making the decisions.
Right.
It's just like, my dog's a vegan. No, your dog's not. You know what I mean? My child's trans. No, your child's not. You know, you are, putting this lifestyle upon the child because you just don't think. I grew up. I've been a kid. You don't think like that when you're a kid. You don't think in terms of sexual identification, gender identification. You hardly even know what this stuff even means.
Fact.
You just kind of want to run around on a playground and have some fun. I was the ultimate tomboy when I was, I would probably say from 6 to 10. I was just like, I just want to hang out with the boys.
Stop it.
Wanted to wear baggy clothes. And thank goodness that I grew up in the 90s, because my mother wasn't like, well, you're Michael. You're obviously Michael. You know what I mean? They were just like, you're Candace going through a tomboy phase. And then, when I got older, suddenly I thought those boys I was running around the playground with were attractive. So these kids are not even being allowed to grow up, and their parents are pigeonholing them into these decisions, which if you grow up and, allow that to happen, this is going to end up with depression, suicide. The rates are staggering for transgender.
That doesn't make sense.
Individuals who actually transition and commit suicide thereafter. There's a lot of transitioning regret, and it's because they don't have parents parenting, and that's sad.
Yeah. To your point about this not being an LGB thing, but a
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
T thing, when you look at the numbers, the L lesbians are being basically erased in the younger generations as we see the trans numbers go up. And it's also,
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
it's interesting you say as a tomboy, if you were a tomboy now with some of the modern parents, they'd say you were trans. And that's why it's this irony where actually the left has made gender a more rigid
Are you serious?
thing, because now it's actually, if you're a girl, you're not allowed to behave
Right.
like a boy, because if you do, now you become a boy.
Right.
So for a long time, it seemed like they were saying, well, just because let's open up, let's be more open-minded.
Wait for it.
And if you're a girl, doesn't mean you have to play with dolls. You can play
Right.
with trucks too. I'm on board for that.
Mm-hmm.
But now they've kind of contradicted themselves, and they said, well, come to think of it, if you're a girl playing with the trucks, maybe you're actually a boy. So
Right. Yeah, they've made it more rigid. And that's what I say in terms of race, too. These things that they focus on, they say that they're trying to make things better. They always worsen them. That it wasn't an issue for girls to play with guys. If I was in the toy store and saw a boy's sign and a girl's sign, I don't even know if I was reading it at the time that I was going to Toys R Us, which is now extinct. But secondly, if I wanted to go into the boys aisle and grab something, I would have just done it. My parents would never been like, what are you doing in the boys aisle? I never felt traumatized that there were they were filtering products. And by the way, guys they gravitate towards different things. Oh my God! My brother played with entirely different things. We wanted the Barbies. It wasn't because of a gender construct, We wanted the Barbies. I wanted to take care. I wanted to pamper. I wanted a baby doll. Those maternal instincts happen at such a young age. My
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
brother, he wanted video games. He wanted trucks. He wanted things that I just wouldn't have played with. But nothing was stopping us from playing with the other toy. It's certainly not our parents.
yeah, that's my first kids were boy-girl twins.
Oh my God!
And you bring them to the playroom, got all the toys laid out, and even at 2 years old, they tend to gravitate towards their gender typical toys. But it's not like I'm standing there to my son, get your hands off that doll. That's trucks are for you, son.
Yeah.
Now, okay, we got to talk about your show. That's supposed to be the main topic here. We've gone off, and I'm not a very good interviewer. I'm taking us on
It's fine.
a circuitous
Fun.
path.
It's best when they're just natural, you know?
So your show is debuting soon. Can you tell us? Even here, it's been sort of like mysterious. What is the Candace show?
Very mysterious.
I heard there's going to be an audience. I heard these kind of things. So can you tell us about the show? Can you
Wait for it.
give us
A lot of rumors.
Yeah.
So I think, we kind of just wanted to create something that hasn't really been done before for conservatives. And the time is super opportune, right? You have minimally 80 million Americans who just feel like they're not being heard right now. And who feel like they're being castigated for their political views. And it also feels like we've been increasingly shut out of culture. Like, we can't have, conservatives aren't allowed to be funny. They're not allowed to have live audiences. This is not a thing that conservatives are allowed to do. So we are doing a live audience show, and it will be very much in the vein of a lot of the old school late night talk shows when they were actually fun, right? When they actually had a sense of humor and they weren't so polarizing and done entirely at the expense of half of the country. And so I always say to people, I wanted to create something, and it's so funny to me to say this now, but when I was growing up, I loved Chelsea Lately. Before she went lefty, wacko, couldn't take a joke, and now she's taking Xanax to deal with the election results. She was funny. Once upon a time, Chelsea Handler was actually funny and irreverent and had a sense of humor and made fun of everyone. And it was a feel-good show. It had a panel. So there were elements that I really loved and missed about having a woman who could have a sense of humor and not take herself so seriously, first and foremost, and just kind of creating a show that does still also have
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
a real purpose. We're not sitting around talking about celebrities like she was talking about, but we are talking about these sort of really important political issues that are getting lost because a lot of the times, the news cycle moves so quickly that it's almost, we're all ADD, right? 1 second you're trying to talk about this issue and then they've kicked it and they're talking about this issue. And I really wanted to sort of get people focused on these issues like we just talked about in this show to really understand what is happening in this country, how serious it is, but also to give them a message of hope. And that's through my monologue and my epilogue. What would you say at the end when you say something at the end? Epilogue, maybe?
called epilogue, sure.
Yeah, but like the opposite of an epilogue is a prologue, and I wouldn't call the monologue the prologue. Well, I guess it's a monologue prologue. Yeah, and then it's a monologue epilogue.
I just call it the monologue at the end.
Yeah.
The simplest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monologue at the end.
Yeah.
And sort of giving them a sense of hope and letting people know, okay, it does kind of feel like the world's on fire and we're just watching it burn. But there are some things to feel hopeful about. People are fighting back. People are winning. And to invite, for the interview segment,
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
it's Americans, of course there will be some celebrities put onto the show as well, but also I'm inspired by a lot of Americans that are fighting back, students who are fighting back against the indoctrination that's happening at their schools, and it's going to be a really fun show.
Are you serious?
That's bringing the hope into it is good because and that'll be good to inject a little bit of sunlight here because I'm just doom and gloom. That's my perspective is we're all doomed.
Some people like to watch the world burn, right?
Yes.
That's your show.
So, but it's I think it's hard to inject sometimes actual hope in a way that's real and substantive and not superficial. So.
Right, and to inspire people, like I said, I was reading a story about these literal, I'm trying to get them on my show, but these Catholic teens who were going to school obviously at the time of George Floyd protesting, and when everyone just went super woke, and one of their classmates had gone back and found old pictures of them where the kid had acne. In
Stop it.
one picture he had an all-white face mask, next picture he had an all-green face mask with his two buddies, and they just said, that's blackface. Green mask, acne mask. He actually had acne. The school,
That is insane.
he got expelled. And they said, we know you didn't actually do this, but it's very important for us to send a political message right now in this time. Incredible.
Hang on, he got expelled.
He got expelled.
For
they said you
using
either
acne
you
medication.
either withdraw or we're going to expel you. And his parents withdrew and then lawyered up.
Oh my God!
And are suing and are actually winning, right? And so that's kind of the message people need to hear. Because I always get these questions of like, what can I do? What can I do? Fight. You got to fight. This is not a time now to say, what can I do? Your parents, you got to fight for your students.
Fact.
You got to go in, you got to march into the doors. And if they do something crazy like that, well, it's an important message for us to send that you in green face is in fact not okay, because George Floyd died. And it's, what world are we living in? So kind of like those stories, talking to these teens, talking to these parents need to see that and say, wow, they won, and know that they can do that too. It's very easy. You don't need to always look to your political heroes and say,
Wait for it.
and figure out what you can do. It's going to start it's going to start at the ground level, or it's not going to happen.
Well, we're all excited for the new show, and thanks for joining us, Candace.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Fact.
Happy vibes. Who do we get them from? Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. Yep, her and Prince Harry have landed a new podcast deal after parting ways with Spotify. And that is amazing because Spotify lost so much money on them. And you remember one of the executives came out and said they quite literally have no talent. But worse than that, they don't want to work.
What?
Never, ever in the history of the world has there been a couple that has grifted as hard and as successfully as they have, right? You just grifted off of your family, haven't really done anything since. You keep getting awards. You keep getting these deals. I don't understand it. And the brand that they keep going into is this idea that Meghan is a feminist. She's a true feminist, and that's why she's being awarded by Gloria Steinem. She's just a brave woman.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, I don't understand why her podcast, her original one, didn't take off. I've listened to it. I definitely would want to listen to this every single day of my life if there were more episodes. Let's just take it back to her old podcast that was on Spotify called Archetypes.
Okay.
When I was 14, I planned my wedding. Not my actual wedding. That would have been a bit harder to imagine. This wedding was an assignment for my Religion 2 class in Catholic school. At no point could you say, nope, my dream for the future is to be single.
What do you mean by that?
The message, even at my feminist all-girls school, was as traditional as it gets. First comes love, then comes marriage.
That doesn't make sense.
It was stunning, brave. I don't know what that podcast executive was talking about. She's amazing. I love her, which is why it makes perfect sense that another company has approached her. She has landed a new deal. This is obviously less than a year after Spotify said, no, we're good. You are losing us money. Well, Spotify, that's kind of your fault.
What the hell?
Because it's pretty obvious that these two are only good at selling their family throwing their family under the bus. And Meghan has released a statement about this new partnership. It is with Lemonada, and they're going to stream Archetypes.
Nice.
Yeah, they're going to handle all of the ad sales and the distribution. And remember, she had tons of people on to talk about this feminism. She had Mariah Carey, Mindy Kaling, and now they're going to take this on. Meghan released this statement. I am proud to now be able to share that I am joining the brilliant team at Lemonada to continue my love of podcasting.
Okay.
Being able to support a female-founded company with a roster of thought-provoking and highly entertaining podcasts is a fantastic way to kick off 2024. Our plan to re-release Archetypes so that more people can now have access to it, as well as launching a dynamic new podcast, are well in the works. I'm so eager to be able to share it soon, and I'm overjoyed to be joining the Lemonada family. Yes, she's not even going to do any work in the beginning. They're just going to re-release what she already did, and then I'm sure she's eager to do more, but the financial terms of the deal were obviously not disclosed. Lemonada probably just wants to get their name on the map. They're taking a chance, and I'm going to guess it's not going to pan out that well.
What?
Because people want to listen to something that sounds real. They don't want to be lectured about feminism. They don't want to be lectured about what they're doing wrong. They don't want to be told the patriarchy is all around them. And, oh, yes, remember when you were in high school and people were like, get married? Yeah, I do remember. It's an aspirational goal. Yes, getting married and starting a family is aspirational. Stop trying to convince us to do the opposite when you did exactly that. You got married, found yourself a prince, and pimped your way into Hollywood, which is where you always wanted to be. But let me stop. We'll cover this, obviously, extensively when her new podcast, that she's probably not going to do, it hits the market. So I'm really proud of Americans. It seems like a lot of us are waking up to the understanding that our mainstream media is just possessed with propaganda. They're just state media. That's the way to think of it. This is the CIA elects them into these positions of power behind the scenes, and their job is to condition the way that we as Americans think.
Here we go again.
And this clip, by the way, which is making the rounds, I have to show you what I'm speaking about. It is just so gross in terms of the adoration, the fawning over Zelensky, when quite literally they were just trying to convince us to be totally chill with getting to work and sending more and more billions, trying to make you think he was a hero fighting for democracy. Yeah, this is CNN's Erin Burnett. She has an opportunity to sit down with Zelensky and ask him questions. And here's what she was concerned with.
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
Listen.
As a human being, so many people look up to you. They rely on you.
Fact.
No one can imagine how hard that is. Do you do anything for yourself? Are you ever able to take a minute to read or to listen to music or something to sort of give yourself that a moment?